Hi guys, welcome back to day 12 of our Christmas card series this year. So for today we're going to be painting a cute little Christmas ornament, but I thought we'd step it up a notch. So I added a little bow and I just added some random swirls for a design on our ornament here. And I made them a little bit darker so that once we go over with our watercolor, I can go on top with a little bit of ink and color those designs in. Yeah, so if you guys want to see more Christmas cards, I am posting them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday up until Christmas. So please come back for those videos and be sure to subscribe. So let's get into this one for today. So I'm just going to start as I normally do all of my little Christmas ornaments. We're just going to go over top of it with some water, some clear water, and then we'll drop in our colors. So I'm thinking blue today. I think I want to make a blue ornament because I've been doing a lot of red. So I think I'm going to do a blue ornament, but I might make the bow red just for a little bit of contrast. You guys can do whatever colors that you're feeling at the moment. I'm going to go right up to this little topper. And then we're just going to fill it in with some clean water. Now I will try and list all of the supplies that I'm using in this card series down below. Just got a little random drop of water there, but that's okay. We'll just pick that up. Yeah, so I'll try to list all of the supplies in the description box just so you guys have an idea. Okay. So any little puddles that I have, I'm just kind of going around, picking them up now because we want our surface to be nice and shiny, but not wet with puddles. Okay, so I think for our blue ornament, I'm going to take phthalo blue for a nice bright blue. And you know what, I might throw just a little bit of turquoise in there too. Just mix the two together. And I'm just going to go right around. I just dripped my brush in a little bit of water just to help it flow a little bit. So for this one, I thought I'd kind of mix it up and do two little highlights on it. Just to make it a little bit different. Okay. So I'm making sure I get right up to this edge here of where our little like ornament topper thing's gonna be. But I don't care if I go over top of it because when we put the ink on, it'll cover that up. Okay, so then I'm gonna go in with some Prussian blue. And I might just take a little dab of lamp black just to make sure it's nice and dark, and I'm just going to go all around the edges. And I'm just going to get that same mix again. if you need just a touch of water. You don't want it to be too wet at this point because it will create some bloom since our card is just starting to dry, but a little bit of water is okay. And then I'm just going to drop just a tiny bit up here. Okay, so I like how that's coming along. I might just smooth out just here, just go along and just smooth out these little highlights a little bit. Just so we get some really, really nice soft edges. Okay, so I like how that's looking. So I think I'm gonna let that do its thing for a little bit and then we'll move on to the bow. Okay. So for our bow, I think we'll do it in red. And I think I'm going to start with some alizarin crimson red. And I might just throw just a hint of lamp black in there, just because I'm going to start with our shadows like I did. If you guys watched the Christmas present card that I did, we did a flat wash over the whole thing, then we did our shadows, and then we went on top with a brighter wash just to make the bow stand out really well. So I think we'll kind of do the same thing here a little bit. Okay. So we're just going to start with a little bit darker, and I've got, you know, quite a bit of more paint to water on my brush for this one. So I'm just going to kind of come in here and just paint it in where any of those like shadowed areas would be. I'm using a size 8 for this. If you want to go down to a smaller size, you certainly can do that. That's totally fine. Going to pick up just a tiny bit more of that mixture. Now I'm going to get just a little bit more water on my brush so it's not quite as dark, but still dark, and I'm just going to go along the edges here. Just where the bow's 3D, it is going to be a little bit darker along the edges. And just a little bit here. Okay. So I think we're going to leave that at that stage. And we're going to go ahead and let everything dry here, and then we'll come back on top with another little layer for our bow to really make it pop. And then this method will make a little bit more sense for you guys, okay? So I'll see you back when this is all dry. Okay, so now that our card is all dry, we're going to go on top and do that second layer for our bow. So I'm going to take a little bit of cadmium red deep hue because it's a nice bright red, and I might just add a little bit of our cadmium red hue into there just to brighten it just slightly. And I'm gonna get it sort of a medium water ratio here, and we're just going to start going over top of our bow. Just everywhere. Now for this, you don't want to scrub too much. You're just kind of like laying a little layer of color in there. If you scrub too much, your watercolor may end up lifting the first layer that we put down. And I'm just going to grab a little bit more. There. So if there's too much, you just pick it up. Okay. So we'll let our bow dry, and then you guys will kind of see how those shadows aren't going to look so harsh anymore. And if you want to go back in and deepen up some more of the shadows, we can absolutely do that. We'll just see when it dries, but we'll move on to our blue ornament part for right now, so we can go in and do our design. So I have some of this Winsor and Newton ink, and you'll notice that it does separate over time, so you just have to give it a little shake. And then it will all kind of mix back together. So we'll just do this. And those little swirly patterns that I drew on this, I'm just going to go over top with the silver ink, and it'll make it really nice and pop. So you can do whatever color you want. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. I just think the blue and the silver look really nice together. And I'm using a size 2 brush now for this. And you can see how nice this just lays over it. These inks are one of my new favorite things to add on top of my watercolors. And you can see with the blue here, we got that really nice, like, dark, shadowy border, but it's not super harsh because we put all of our colors in while it was still wet. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is just throw a bunch of colors in while it's all still wet and let them mix and do their own thing. Sometimes you just need to give up control with watercolors, and I know that's hard. We want to control everything, but Sometimes that's the fun of it, just letting it do its own thing. There. So up around here is pretty dry, so we're going to go in and fill up this spot up here too. So I'm going to make those little U-shaped backs. And you can do whatever pattern you want. No pattern, doesn't matter. And then we're just going to fill in this whole thing. Just for some nice pops of color. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to dry this one off really well because we'll use that, and we'll go in when our bow's dry. We'll go in and do the same thing but with some gold ink. So I will see you guys in a minute when that's dry. Okay, so now that the top bow's dry, I've just got the same Winsor and Newton ink but in gold, and I just shook it up for a minute so it's all incorporated. And I'm just going to go back in with this number 2 brush, and I'm just going to outline our bow in some areas. And I just love the look of this gold and red. Now when you're putting these inks on top of your watercolors, you do want to make sure that the watercolor is dry, like dry, because it's a wet medium, so it will pick up the watercolor if it's wet. You might just need to give it a little shake, a little stir while you're doing it, or you might need to put the cap on and shake it back up if you notice that it's not as opaque. It might be starting to separate, and for whatever reason I find the gold one separates faster than the silver one. So you might need to just pause and shake it up a little bit more. Now if you don't have these inks, you can use whatever you want. If you have some gold and silver watercolor paints, or you could use gouache, or you don't have to have anything at all. You can just leave it with just the red bow and the blue ball, and it'll be just as nice. I think just the fact that these are handmade and you're giving them to people for Christmas, I think they're just going to appreciate that fact. You don't have to add all this extra to it. I've just done, I did a card previously with just 3 regular balls hanging here, so I thought I'd just do something a little bit different this time. And actually I just noticed this extends down a little bit. I'll just make that little part stand out. There. So I think that will be it for this Christmas ornament card today. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. I hope you will subscribe and like the video, and stay tuned for my next card in the series. Thanks for watching.